Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la. Ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la ya la 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 la, la 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 la, Shabbat Shalom. Als ich will singen Lichadoidi, sollst du singen Cherubim, Cherubim. Als ich will singen Likaskala, sollst du singen Cherubim. Lichadoidi,
Cherubim.
Likaskala,
Cherubim.
Lichadoidi, Likaskala, Cherubim.
Cherubim.
No, you're supposed to say cherry bomb.
Sorry, I'm doing it my way.
Oh, cherubim.
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 Cherubim. Bum bim bum bim bum. Cherubim.
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 Cherubim. Bum bim bum bim bum again. Cherubim.
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 Cherubim. Bum bim bum bim bum. Cherubim.
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 Cherubim. Bum bim bum bim bum. Cherubim. Bum bum. Cherubim. Bum bum. Cherubim. Bum bum. Cherubim. Bum bum.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, and
Shabbat Shalom.
welcome
Shabbst.
to our home on this Shabbat Eve. I hope you enjoy those two opening songs. The second one makes no sense whatsoever, but we sing it anyway because it's traditional.
And it makes us feel happy.
There it is. Not a bad idea. I think I mentioned last week that one of the mitzvahs for Shabbat is that we are simply not allowed to be sad on Shabbat. And here it is, another week, and we're still stuck at home and doing our best to keep away from problems and not getting sick. And by the way, I'm really happy to announce to you, I spoke to one of our members today that lives in Aviva, formerly Kobernik, and amazingly and wonderfully, there has not been one case of coronavirus in Aviva at all. So that gives us something terrific to celebrate as really as our flagship home for the elderly here in Sarasota.
And
So,
in our congregational community, as best we know, no one in the community has COVID-19 and no family members. Please God.
So anyway, there's a lot to be happy about on this Shabbat. And it's also the Shabbat weekend of Mother's Day.
Yay.
And not an official Jewish holiday, but certainly an unofficial one. And I'll have more to say about that a little later on. So let's continue with our service. I think we're going to hear now Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, הקדוש ברוך הוא רוחם לשלום מלכי השלום מלכי עליון הקדוש ברוך הוא. Together. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashavet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Elohim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn now to the kindling of the Shabbat candles. And if in your home or wherever you are residing, you have candlesticks, we hope that you'll join in the blessing. And it's a way of expressing light and hope, which is really the meaning of lighting candles on the Shabbat.
We read together first. Come, let us welcome Shabbat. May its radiance warm our hearts as we kindle these tapers.
Light is a symbol of God's presence in our lives. The eternal God is our light and our salvation.
Light is the symbol of the holiness within each of us. The human spirit is the light of God.
Light is a symbol of the Torah's teaching, for the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light.
Light is the symbol of Israel's mission. As it is written, I have made you a covenant people to serve as a light unto the nations.
Therefore, in the spirit of our ancient tradition that hallows and unites Israel in all lands and all ages, let us now kindle the lights of Shabbat.
We join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת. אמן. בואי מלאכים, בואי מלאכים, בואי. כלה של שבת.
May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace.
Amen. Amen.
And so we turn now to the blessing over the wine, the Kiddush. And once again, if you have a glass of wine that you would like to imbibe as we chant the blessing, That way you can participate more fully with us.
Fruit of the vine.
Shabbat teaches us that all life is sacred, that all of our tasks and joys can be dedicated to God, and that we find the truest happiness in serving the Eternal One. So let us praise God with this symbol of joy as we express gratitude for the blessings of the past week, for our lives and our health, for our homes, for our loved ones and friends, for the happiness that has come to us from our efforts. You have ennobled us by the blessings of work and have given us the Shabbat rest. As it is written in the Torah, 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is Shabbat, to be devoted to the eternal God.
And we together.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'yahava uvratzon, hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'charta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'yahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Shabbat Shalom L'chaim. Now,
Labriut.
that was supposed to be my solo.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
you get
okay,
another one.
I'll try next week. That's my big number. But l'chaim to all of you.
Rabbi, you lead us in the Shema.
How about the Baruch Hu first?
Baruch.
So we join together, and if you would like to rise at this time, that's great. And if not, of course, you can remain seated. But please join us in the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach. Praise the eternal God, to whom all praise is due. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. Let us praise the eternal God, to whom all praise is due, now and forever.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach leolam va'ed. We continue with the Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chachma poteach she'arim, u'betuna mishane etim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'mesader et ha'kochavim, b'mishmeroteihem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom u'mevi layla, uma'avdil ben yom u'vein layla, Adonai Tzivaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. We praise you, God. You have revealed your love through our people, Israel. And together we proclaim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Eternal is our God, the Eternal God is one. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Let us praise God who rules in glory forever and ever.
Shema Yisrael,
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Shem Kavod Malechuto, Le'olam Va'ed. I'd like to read to you now a contemporary rendition of the Ve'ahavta prayer that we'll chant, of course, words from the Torah, and written, I think, with a special beauty and resonance. And as we think of these words, especially in the times in which we're living, I think that we'll agree that they have a special meaning, a deeper meaning, perhaps than they have in a very long time. Love God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Let these mitzvot guide you along the path of life. May they instruct you in your daily tasks. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Place them at the doorposts of your house, so that either upon entering or departing, they remind you to live by my mitzvot, in order that you may reflect God's holiness through your life. The Eternal One led us out of Egypt to be our God. The Eternal One alone is our God. Ve'ahavta.
We'll join together in Ve'ahavta, and we know that Celia and Emily are especially chanting very loudly with us. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha ub'chol nafshecha ub'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לתותפות בין עיניך. וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם.
A brief introduction to the next prayer, the Micha Mocha. I can almost imagine our ancestors listening to us now, complaining about what a tough time this is. Boy, it's not easy to be sequestered by ourselves and to be deprived of all the things that we normally like doing. And we're totally unaccustomed to this. And I can hear them saying, you think that's bad? Come on, we lived through 300 years of slavery, 300 years. And then after that, we get out and we get chased all the way to the sea by Pharaoh and his army. Of course, thank God we got through. But that's the meaning of suffering, and that's the real meaning of rejoicing in a time of redemption. The Micha Mocha.
Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar b'kodesh, Noha tehilot osefele, Noha tehilot osefele. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקר היום לפני משה ובריאה בזיני. ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Joy me a mi khamokh ba'elim Adonai, mi khamokh ne'tar b'kodesh, norat tehilot osef eleh, norat tehilot osef eleh. V'ne'emar, ki faja Adonai et Yaakov, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גואל ישראל וכל העולם ואמרו
The next element of the service is just about the oldest part of the historic Jewish worship service for Shabbat. May even go back as far as the days of the ancient temple. And it's called by various names: the Amidah, which means the standing prayer; the Shemona Esrei, which means the 18 blessings. And more recently, we just call it the tefillah, the prayer, the quintessential prayer. And for just about the last 2,000 years, it's been read pretty much the same way. It's called the Avot, therefore. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov. Well, it only took us about 2,000 years, but we finally figured out that it's time that we include the other half of the family, of course, the matriarchs of our faith as well.
Yay, mothers.
And so now it is not the Avot, but it is the Avot and Imahot, meaning mothers. And universally in Reform Judaism, and increasingly in other branches, that is the way it is being chanted. First, an English interpretation. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu. God of ages past and future, God of this day, as you were with our mothers and fathers, be with us as well. As you strengthened them, strengthen us. As you were their guide, be ours as well. Grant that we too may be bearers of your teaching, teachers of your truth. Then our tradition shall endure, and our people Israel will live, from mother and father to daughter and son, and all who follow them. One generation comes, one generation passes. Each of us is a link in the endless chain of our heritage. Students of the Torah become teachers. Our faith and our ideals endure. Our people and our values live on.
We're joined together in chanting the Imahot Avot. Adonai, you can rise if you want. You can stand. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftoch, Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Eternal God, open up our lips, that our mouths may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov. Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר, ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
Among the 18 blessings, specifically is one expressing gratitude, perhaps one of the most important components of the Shabbat itself. We gratefully acknowledge that the eternal God is our creator and preserver, the rock of our life and the shield of our help. We thank God and sing praises for the gift of life itself, for our souls that are ever in God's keeping, for the signs of our Creator's presence that we encounter every day, and for God's wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. Truly our blessings are without end, and God's loving kindness never ceases. Therefore do we forever put our trust in the Eternal One. Modim anachnu lach.
Modim anachnu lach. Modim anachnu lach. Modim, modim anachnu lach. Modim anachnu lach. Modim anachnu lach. Modim, modim anachnu lach. Amen. So, as it is just about Mother's Day, I thought that for gratitude to sort of enlarge upon our modim, our blessings and our prayers of thanksgiving and giving thanks to God for our blessings, our gifts, our privileges, for love and goodness in our lives, and for care and kindness, that we could do a little song that talks about, it celebrates mothers and daughters. It's very, very simple. It's a children's song, actually, an old Israeli children's tune. Here we go. Rabbi, do you know this? Can you sing it with me? No? Okay. The song says, let's go together hand in hand. And daughters of the Galilee, of the beautiful land, we go up together hand in hand to the mountains. We ascend together. Once more. Sindi adech ben yadi ani shelach ve'at sheli. Sindi adech ben yadi ani shelach ve'at sheli. Hey, hey, rali tarin yafetia. Hey, hey, gal
we turn now to a prayer for peace. And of course, we include that at every service. And mostly our thoughts are peace in our own land, and perhaps as well for the land of Israel. But as the entire world is really engulfed in a different type of conflict today, it's only appropriate, in fact, it's especially appropriate, that our prayers be not only for our land, but for all lands and people everywhere. May all people find their way and help establish peace and reestablish health and well-being throughout our world. Let us cultivate that goodwill which may bring enduring peace. Let all nations realize that the triumphs of conflict turn to ashes, that justice and right are so much better than conquest and aggression.
May all come to see that it is not by might
and not
nor
by power, but
by your Spirit,
that
O
life
God,
prevails.
that life prevails.
Bless all
this
lands,
all lands,
with plenty, and our nation with peace.
All nations with peace.
May righteousness abide with us, and virtue bring us happiness. Blessed our eternal God, who hearkens to prayer.
Shalom, Rav Yisrael, Omecho, Tasin, Le'olam, Shalom, Rav Yisrael, Omecho, Tasin,
Let's take just a few moments for silent meditation, thanking God, of course, for the health that is ours, and expressing great appreciation, gratitude for all those who are daily risking their very lives to keep us healthy and bring others back to health. We can never forget others that are really putting their own lives on the line every single day. And God willing, God will watch over them as they watch over us. As we do every week, we pause to offer prayers for those who are ill, both those that are known to us as well as the thousands of others who are struggling to preserve their very lives. And so we join in Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu, mikor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
So I'd like to offer some comments about Mother's Day. As I mentioned at the beginning, Mother's Day is not an official Jewish holiday, but it certainly ought to be. And Jewish people all around the world, even in Israel, and I'll come to that later on, celebrate Mother's Day in one way or another, although not always on the same date, which actually makes a very little difference. But this is so long overdue in Judaism. Actually, the entire turning of our attention communally to the accomplishments of the women of our faith, of our people, it took an awfully long time to get to where we are today, and we do have farther to go. We know that. But as I said, originally it was just God of our fathers, and much more recently of our mothers as well. The very simple truth is that without the mothers of our people, there would be no Jewish people whatsoever. And I'm not referring simply to reproduction, which is pretty obvious, but truthfully, Judaism, as many of us have understood it for so long, is much more a religion, a faith, a way of life of the home and of the family than it is of the synagogue. The synagogue is important, and we miss it quite a bit right now, I will say that. But truthfully, the most significant events in Jewish life customarily are observed in the home. Think for a moment of what Passover would be like if all we did at Pesach was we went to the synagogue and we chanted the prayers and sang Dayenu and so on, and then just came home. It wouldn't be Pesach at all. But it's the very hard work of the many women of many generations, countless generations, that have made Pesach what it is today. And let's face it, with all the lovely words of the Haggadah and all the memorable songs, what we most look forward to, most of us anyway, are the special dishes that our moms and our grandmothers and our aunts and our cousins make for us to make Passover so special. And what's true of Passover is every bit as true of Hanukkah. And although we go to the synagogue for many hours on the high holy days, I think for many people it is the Rosh Hashanah, Erev Rosh Hashanah dinner and the break the fast on Yom Kippur that really provide the two spiritual bookends of the high holy days. And let's face it, none of this would be happening if it wasn't for the mothers and the women of our faith. So Mother's Day is certainly a time where we should be expressing gratitude for, at the very least, keeping our Jewish people alive for a very long time. So I thought you might want to know a little bit more about Mother's Day itself, and I would like to tell you a little bit. It was established in 1908 in Virginia by a woman named Anna Jarvis, who went to her church and told them that she desired to establish a memorial for her own mother. And the idea caught on, and then she began lobbying, if you will, that Mother's Day should not just be an occasion in the church, but it should be a national holiday as well. And eventually in 1914, really not that long after, by today's standards, it was President Woodrow Wilson who established Mother's Day as a national holiday on the date that we observe it in the United States today. And it has been a holiday, a beloved one ever since. That's the happiest part of the story, but actually Anna Jarvis was not all that happy with what happened to Mother's Day, and what she was disappointed with is what we find very much the case today. Already by the early 1920s, Hallmark Cards had realized that this was an opportunity to sell greeting cards, and that's exactly what they began doing. And the florists realized, well, this is a good way to sell more flowers also. And so the custom of sending or presenting flowers to our mothers on Mother's Day became part of the tradition. And it became what is today I'm not sure whether to say this is a good thing or not so good. It's a $6 billion industry under normal times, of course. Well, she was extremely unhappy with the commercialization of Mother's Day, and she fought all the rest of her life to reverse the commercialization. Needless to say, she did not succeed in that. And yet, Mother's Day does endure as a way in which we express appreciation for our moms. Now, an interesting question. How do you spell mothers, as in Mother's Day? Do you spell it M-O-T-H-E-R-S, day? Do you spell it M-O-T-H-E-R'-S, day? It's not a simple grammatical question. And the reason I mention this is because for each of us, it is not intended that this should be a day of celebrating motherhood in its grandiosity, covering all mothers, but is supposed to be a day devoted to the most important mother that each of us has, namely our own. And so the correct spelling of the holiday is M-O-T-H-E-R'-S, the first person possessive, my Mother's Day. And I hope that you keep that in mind. Of course, we celebrate all mothers, but especially we celebrate our own, whether they're still with us or whether they have long passed away. They retain that very special place in our hearts. So that's a little bit about Mother's Day. Now, you might wonder, what are they doing in Israel? Well, that's an interesting story in itself. Like almost all the other countries in the world, Israel decided, I think around 1951, that it wanted to have Mother's Day. And so they also decided that, well, we need to do something to give it a kind of a Jewish feeling. So when to have Mother's Day? They thought, well, the more traditional Jews believed that this should be celebrating a specific mother in Jewish history, ignoring what I just said about the apostrophe S and so on. And so they selected Hannah, who is the matriarch of the Maccabee family, of course responsible for the victory of the Maccabees and the holiday of Hanukkah. So consequently, they designated one of the nights of Hanukkah as Jewish Mother's Day. But that didn't exactly go over as well as they had hoped. And so a second proposal arose that they should choose a special mother of the Jewish people, more from modern times than ancient times. And they chose Henrietta Zold. Now, those of you that have been members of Hadassah know that Henrietta Zold is the founder of Hadassah, which is probably the most successful Jewish women's organization in the entire world, responsible for so much good work for the Hadassah hospitals in Israel, for doing so much for kids and newcomers to Israel. And Hadassah's contribution to the modern state of Israel and to the Jewish people has been tremendous. And along those very same lines, let's speak for a moment of Henrietta Zold. Why Henrietta Zold? Well, she was essentially the mastermind and architect of what is called the Youth Aliyah, wherein 30,000 Jewish children were rescued from the Holocaust and were transported through all kinds of means, legal and illegal, to come to the Yishuv, as it was called then, Palestine, before it was a nation. And with a lot of help from women and men around the world, indeed, she was able to save 30,000 young people and give them a whole new life in the land of Israel. I think that qualifies her as being one of the true mothers of the modern state of Israel. And that's the reason that they named Mother's Day after her birthday, which I believe is February 22nd, which is not when we observe, but who cares? They have the right idea. And this is a woman well worth remembering for all that she did for our people. So what has happened to Mother's Day in Israel today? Well, things have changed once again, and thanks to many changes in our society, not just in Israel, but around the world, it's become more recognized that, along with mothers, fathers as well, have had something to do, something important to do with the raising of their families. And so, in that spirit, Israel decided to rename Mother's Day Yom HaMishpacha, the day of the family. And it's a day devoted where families should simply get together and celebrate being a mishpacha. But I must say, if I can offer my own opinion, I think they missed the boat on this one. I really believe that they should have left it alone and left it Mother's Day for so many reasons that I've mentioned and others. So in that spirit, in our synagogue, we always celebrate Mother's Day this time of year. We give the moms and grandmothers a flower. And in normal years, I would give them a big hug. But if I was there with them this year, I would simply give them a very heartfelt bump of the elbow. And they would know how much I appreciate their many efforts for our people and for their families. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. A Mother's Day poem and a little lullaby. My Nightingale. My mother was, her golden brown eyes, her grace remain. Here she was, half angel, half human. The center was my mother. And when I asked her what she'd have liked to be, she said, a nightingale. And now, each night, I hear her in the garden of my sleepless dream. She sings of Mishpacha, she sings of Yisrael, she sings of the moonbeams and the stars, of the rose garden and the gardenias. My mother, here she was, half angel, half human, the center. And so each night, night after night, cradle songs by my nightingale. These are sung to me in the garden of my sleepless dream. A lullaby as I sang to my daughter when she was little, as my mother sang to me when I was little, and as my grandmother sang to her when she was little. Numi, numi, yaldati, numi, 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 ketanati, numi, numi, halach, halach, haba. Halach le'avada, halach, halach, haman, ima b'yacharim ketana, numi, yaldati. Numi, 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 ketanati,
We turn now to the concluding part of our service, the Kaddish. And as we're about to recite Kaddish, we remember on this Shabbat these yortzites. Alan Cohn remembers Jack Cohn. Anna Beaver remembers Sarah Berlin. Jean Ellis remembers Gerald Abowitz. Cantor Bard remembers Pamela Israel. The Shames family remembers Eunice Bruton. Carol Siegel remembers Bernard Albert Cohen. And our Temple family remembers Bertha Korsakoff, Rose Ragusin, and Henry Keller. And as well, each of us remembers in our own hearts our dear ones that we have lost in years gone by. And especially on this Shabbat, we remember the mothers and grandmothers who sadly are no longer with us. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divra chirute, bi'amlich malchute, b'chayechon u'yomechon, u'chaye d'chal Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kari vimru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mivarach, le'olam l'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, yitpo'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha berichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom v'imromav. Hu ya'asei shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and bring comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say amen.
Amen. Oseh
Shalom v'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Ve'imaru, Imaru, Amen.
Adon Olam.
Let's hope for the best with this recording. Albert,
Are
thank
you
you
there?
We certainly hope so.
And then we wish everybody a good Shabbat. Keep your spirits strong, chazak, chazak.
And wear a mask wherever you
Wear
go.
a mask, wear your gloves. A good week ahead. We have a mitzvah opportunity. If you wish, if you can, there is an urgent need for canned foods. Our Manatee County Food Bank has put out a request this month and in the next month, months ahead actually, particularly canned meats, protein, and vegetables. If you are comfortable dropping off a bag of non-perishables of these items, just at the front of the synagogue, front door, ring the doorbell on a Wednesday morning between 9 and 11. A wonderful woman named Mary Beth, administrator for the church, will come, take the bags, put them in the collection box, and the next day, Rabbi Sternfield and I and Reverend Shannon Joan from the church will pick up and, wearing our masks, drop off at the food bank. You may also just donate, make a monetary donation, whatever you can do, of course.
Okay. Let's try
All
this.
right, Adon Olam, the French Sephardic version. Adon Olam, Hashem Olam, B'Terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, V'Heit Nasa, V'Chefso Kol, Azai Melech, Shelo Nikra, Azai Melech, Shelo Nikra, Ve'acharei Tikot HaKol, Yirchadon, Yimloch Yo'ayu Hayah, Ve'hu Hover, Ve'hu Yileh, V'Tifara, Ve'hu Yileh, V'Tifara, Ve'hu Echad V'Sheni, Ve'Ham Shiro, Ve'Aviva Adeli, feet, lo ha'oz, העם ישרוד, ולא העוז, העם ישרוד. Shabbat Shalom.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.